All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Q&A and channel update. Don't really have much going on by way of new gear or anything like that, but I do want to update y'all on the bow camera setup for the kayak. This guy has overheated twice out there on a recent fishing trip and corrupted my footage. I wasn't able to produce a video because this fella overheated, and then also the action hat overheated. Same day, same fishing trip. And it is a bummer. I cannot have that because, well, my livelihood depends on being able to present y'all new videos throughout the week. And if that happens, then it's no good. So I spoke prematurely whenever I talked about the camera setup right here with the use of an external battery, the mic, and no internal battery so that this setup does not overheat. Well, it does overheat, so I take back what I said in the previous video, so that's why I just wanted to update y'all on that. And for those of you that do have the keen eye and you noticed in some of the videos, hey, where is the bow camera? It's because I've opted to basically remove everything, and I'm gonna use both cameras to do my filming from the one point of view, and that is gonna be the action hat. So whatever camera I have on the hat, once that battery dies, I'm gonna let that rest and cool down while I start filming with the second camera. So I'm using two cameras for the one hat, giving them a rest in between batteries, and hopefully that's gonna prevent me from losing footage, especially on great days. I'm talking, it's a demoralizer. So that's what's going on with that. The other thing on the channel that we got going on, recently I took up fly fishing, and I've been trying to learn. I've been watching YouTube videos, trying to figure out the most basic of things, like what's the difference between fly line, what's the difference between a tippet, and then a leader. I'm like, do I need all three of those? Also, the fly backing, like the fly reel backing, or whatever you want to call that. I didn't know anything like that, and when I was scouring YouTube for videos and trying to find out the most simplest of things, it's stuff that most anglers take for granted, or maybe they're going to talk to someone else or go to the fly shop and learn these things. But nonetheless, whenever you want to learn something and it's not on YouTube or readily accessible, then you kind of take for granted what it is that you're doing, especially someone like me being a YouTuber, and I kind of describe what it is that I'm going through or what I'm seeing when I'm out there on the water. And one thing that I haven't done was give the most basic of details, like why do I use 10-pound braid? Why do I use 5-pound? Why do I use this lure? Why do I use the rods that I use? And why is it that I'm using a specific fishing reel, or so on and so forth? So I'm approaching it from the angle I'm speaking to a beginner, someone who is brand new to the sport. They've never picked up a conventional fishing reel before, and they've never ever tried to go out there marsh fishing. I'm going to detail through this series. It's called Marsh Fishing, or Texas Marsh Fishing 101. It's a guide for beginners. So if you start seeing a lot of these videos pop up, I mean, it's going to be quite a few. I'm going to try to equip the most basic of anglers, the people who are beginners to marsh fishing on the Texas Gulf Coast. I'm going to give every bit of experience that I know, and it's all going to be conveniently placed in one playlist. So hopefully that's going to help a lot of beginners out there, introduce them to the sport, and be able to identify and understand what it is that they're seeing and why it is that I'm doing certain things. It's very subjective to my experience, my thoughts, and what is going on out there. I've got 4 years of experience. We have just entered into my 5th year of fishing, or my 5th season, and that was August time frame 5 years ago. I retired from the military, and that's when I started becoming the full-time fisherman. So I'm just going to lend that experience based off of what I know. I hope you beginners that are new to the sport will be able to find something to take away from these very simple, quick videos. Again, not for everybody, so for all of you pro anglers out there, and also like the intermediate style fishermen, it's probably going to seem like I'm trying to insult your intelligence. That's not the idea. I'm just trying to help out those who want to get into the sport and learn about everything that I do for marsh fishing and what's made me successful. So, all right, that's it for the channel update. Let's go into our Sunday Q&A portion. And the first question is from Kevin McBride. He goes, is 20-pound braid to 25-pound leader enough for wade fishing? So very subjective question based off of my knowledge and experience in wade fishing. I don't do it a lot. I am not the most proficient wade fisherman, but I do know that that is more than enough test pound on your main line and leader line. I'm using something that's like a 10-pound mainline braid with a 12-pound leader line in fluorocarbon. It's more than enough to be able to handle fish around oyster. What I'm trying to say, it's abrasion resistance enough for redfish in the marsh near the oyster bars and stuff like that. So I don't think you're gonna have any issue, but again, it depends on where you're trying to wade fish. If you're out there on the beach, well, obviously there's really not much obstructions in the surf, but if you're in the bay system and there's a lot of obstructions that are around, that just depends on what it is that you need to fish. Also, your main line, I guess it's, from my experience, the main line that I'm gonna use is based off of the lure that I'm trying to cast out there. If I have real heavy lures, like a topwater like this right here, pretty heavy, I can get away with using 20-pound braid, maybe even 30, 40-pound, because this lure can carry that line off of the spool and you're gonna be able to make a far cast. But if you're using something that is super tiny, well, obviously the 20-pound is not gonna get it done. I say obviously, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but to me, it's obvious that a very light lure is not gonna be able to pull heavy line off of that spool, so your cast is gonna go to poop. So, based off of what it is that you're trying to do, you have to purchase. You don't have to. You can get away with doing, anything that you want, but you may not achieve the results that you want. So therefore, that's why they make all kinds of test pounds. That's why we have so many different setups, because each one does a specific job. You're not gonna find a carpenter go to the job site with just one tool. It doesn't work that way. You can make it work, but how much work do you want to put into your work? Some things are going to be harder than others. So hopefully that makes sense, Kevin. But yes, definitely more than enough firepower right there. Next question, MTZ Fishing says, will there be a skiff for the channel again, or is it strictly kayak? No, there will be a skiff again. I just don't know when I'm going to get one. Right now, I can't invest in such a big purchase. I did see a skiff builder and it's very promising. I like what I saw, and I just don't know if it's going to come to fruition really soon, because my truck, the little black beast, a lot of y'all may have noticed, and some of y'all already asked, hey, did you get a new truck? That's Christian's Silverado that we've been using recently. As of 5 months ago, my little black truck, I just got it out of the shop, and all of a sudden the transmission poops itself. It's having trouble shifting from third and staying in fourth, so the RPMs are just really jacked up, and it hit all of a sudden. The transmission's been replaced twice, and so long story short, I've got to get a new truck, and once I'm able to make that purchase, then I can concentrate on possibly getting another skiff. There was one deal in the works, but who knows if that's going to happen or not. If it does, well then y'all will be able to see that it does. But as it stands, yes, there will be a skiff. It's just not anytime soon. Next question is a new subscriber here. Keep up the good work. Never been to the marsh. Would you be able to make it out there with a paddle drive? I see everyone in your vids have pedal drives. Thanks in advance. Yeah, you can do anything. It just depends, again, how much work, how much effort do you want to put towards getting into those marsh systems? If you don't have the best of health and you're not strong enough to paddle yourself, if your upper body strength is lacking, or you have an injury to your shoulders, then the strictly paddling kayak is probably not going to be for you. Some of these marsh systems are in excess of 2 miles just to get there. And then during this time of year, by the time you paddle 2 miles to get to the fishing grounds, and with the Texas heat, you're not going to feel good. You're going to be trying to replenish your water and electrolytes and everything else. So it's just not going to be a pleasant experience. And if you don't feel good, then you're not going to fish good. It's just not going to happen. But yes, it can definitely work. Any kayak will work to be able to do some marsh fishing in. It just depends on how much work you want to put into it. I don't recommend a paddle kayak, but that's just me. I mean, I know there's guides out there that will use only paddle kayaks because that makes them the ultimate shallow water fishing platform. But these guys, you got to understand their level of fitness, their dedication to what it is that they do, and how it is that they apply it. And they're definitely in it to win it. And they're very good at what they do. And they do use paddle kayaks. But for me, well, I'm middle-aged and I'm a little bit lazier than what those guys are, so I just prefer the pedal kayak. Next question is from Ernie. Awesome job. How do you like those fish grips versus the boga style grips? I like both of them equally. They each serve their purpose. The Rapala plastic ones, I don't mind using them on a flounder, a speckled trout, or a redfish. I don't have to worry about teeth getting me, but if we had a shark or something like that, well then maybe that's what I'm going to use the boga for, because it keeps my hands further away from that darn mouth. And same like with an alligator gar, if I was to happen to catch something like that. But the big difference is one is super crazy expensive, the boga, and then the Rapala is just very cheap. They both accomplish the same job, and they allow me to control the fish's mouth while I'm trying to remove hooks. And as long as you can accomplish that, then it just depends on which one you prefer. I don't prefer one over the other, although I kind of do, because as a YouTuber, I carry a lot of weight with me. The bogas are very heavy, and they take up a lot more space in the kayak, and real estate is at a prime in the kayak. So if you're the kind of person that likes to take out a lot of gear and you're always trying to cut back on weight, well then one comes over the other. Just depends on what you prefer, but they both work. Last question is going to be from Jesus. He says, Mark, I notice you keep switching hands upon every cast. Do you think it would be easier to stick with a left-handed reel? No, I'm a dominant right-hand person. That's the way I've learned. I just have better control with my right hand. A lot of people say it's wrong. I know that's not what you're saying, but some people are like, dude, you're doing it wrong. It's like, no, you know, who are you to say that I'm doing something wrong? It's just what I feel comfortable with, and it's what I've been doing all along my entire life. I did purchase a left-handed bait caster, and that's just because of the kayak. The Salty PDL has, or all of Old Town's kayaks only have one rudder control, and it's always on the left-hand side. That makes it very difficult when you're trying to fight a fish and then control the kayak at the same time. I have to basically switch hands, make my rudder adjustment, and we're talking split seconds, but sometimes that's all it takes is the tension to be let loose on your fish as you're fighting it, trying to reel in that slack, or if he's coming at you, and then you got to make a rudder adjustment so that you don't hit structure, oyster, or something like that, a dock. And it just takes that split second to lose your fish. So therefore, because of that big dislike that I have for the Salty or all of Old Town's kayaks that have a rudder control, I've spoke to them lots of times on the issue whenever they asked for my input personally. I'm like, give the angler dual rudder control, let them decide. Not everybody's gonna use that left-hand side, but they have yet to do it. We'll see how much longer I might stick with the Salty. I don't know, but that rudder control is definitely a big hindrance as far as my style of fishing goes, because you have to swap hands. But I'm right hand dominant. I feel at home whenever I'm using my right hand to crank a right-handed reel, and I just have better accuracy when casting with my right hand. So there we have it. Thanks so much for tuning in on today's Sunday Q&A. I hope you've had an enjoyable weekend, and I'm looking forward to the fishing week. Got some pretty good trips planned on the horizon, so looking forward to it. If you enjoyed this one, hit that thumbs up button. And until next time, tight lines, y'all.